G'day legends, the UFC heads down under for UFC Fight Night Della Maddalena versus Prates, live from RAC Arena in Perth. And honestly, this card is built different. This is the UFC's 5th trip to Perth and the first time we're getting a Saturday night primetime card in Australia, which is elite for us Aussie fans. This is a massive featherweight clash. Jack Della Maddalena returns home looking to bounce back, and you already know the Perth crowd is going to be behind him heavy. JDM is all about clean, technical boxing, sharp combinations, nasty bodywork, and constant pressure that slowly breaks opponents down. He doesn't rush anything, he walks you into damage. Meanwhile, Carlos Prates is an absolute killer. He's on a serious run right now, knocking people out and finishing fights in violent fashion. Long, powerful, and unpredictable. He carries fight-ending power in every exchange, and he's dangerous the moment you give him space. This is one of those fights where someone is getting hurt. Me and my husky are breaking down the fights every single week, so show us some love, hit subscribe, join the crew, and let's ride another card together. And always remember, anything can and will happen inside the octagon. Stay sharp and stay husky.
They'll never see me coming. If I'm honest, kinda love it.
The first fight of the card is Kody Steele versus Dom Marwan. Cody's path is pretty straightforward, pressure and pace. If he comes forward, keeps Dom on the back foot and makes it messy, that's where he's most comfortable. He'll want to close distance, get physical, and mix in grappling when he can. If he turns it into a grind, clinch work, cage pressure, short shots, he can wear Dom down and either take a decision or find a late finish when Dom starts to fade. This fight suits him the more uglier it gets. Dom's best chance is to keep the fight clean and controlled. He'll want space, time to see shots coming, and avoid getting stuck against the cage. If he can stay composed, pick his shots, and make Kody miss, he can outpoint him. He doesn't want to get dragged into a scrap. The more technical and measured the fight is, the better it is for him. If Kody gets reckless, Dom can also catch him coming in. Over 3 rounds, pressure usually wins these kinds of fights, especially if one guy is trying to keep it clean and the other is forcing exchanges. Give me Kody Steele by decision.
You're over there when I need you here. My happiness.
Next up, we have Jonathan Malkoun versus Themba Gorimbo. Jonathan's at his best when the fight becomes physical and a bit chaotic in transitions. He doesn't need perfect positions, he just needs commitment. If he can turn exchanges into scrambles and stay attached when things hit the mat, he starts creating those messy moments where opponents stop thinking clearly and start reacting. That's where submission opportunities usually appear for him, not from control, but from persistence in the scrambles. Themba is more comfortable when he gets things structured. His ideal fight is where he can reset, stay disciplined in exchanges, avoid extended grappling sequences where he's forced to defend multiple layers at once. If he can keep Malkoun at range and quickly stand up from bad positions, he can start to take over with cleaner, more efficient work. I see Jonathan having repeated scrambles and keeps reattaching every time Gorimbo tries to escape. The submission doesn't need a perfect setup, it just needs one extended defensive sequence. Give me Jonathan Micallef by submission. Up next, we have Wes Schultz taking on Ben Johnston. Wes wants to turn it into a gritty physical fight. He'll want to pressure forward, get Ben backing up, and force clinch situations where things get messy. If he can smother Ben's rhythm, make it a grind against the cage or on the mat, he can rack up control and wear him down over 3 rounds. The longer it stays ugly and tiring, the more it suits Wes. Ben's path is more about timing and space. If he can keep the fight at range, not get stuck in exchanges, he'll have opportunities to land clean. The key for him is making Wes pay when he comes in. If Wes overcommits or walks into shots while trying to close the distance, Ben's countering becomes dangerous. That's where the KO lives, intercepting pressure, not trading in chaos. I think the key moment is Wes pushing in, getting a bit predictable, and Ben finding a clean shot in that entry. Give me Ben Johnston by knockout. In the bantamweight division, we have Kody Thicknesse taking on Vince Morales. Kody wants to keep the fight at range and turn it into a clean technical striking battle. If he can establish his jab and stay light on his feet, avoid getting tied up against the fence, he can make Vince reset constantly and never really settle into his rhythm. The key for him is discipline, not lingering in clinches, not getting dragged into ugly exchanges, just steady output and making the rounds look clear with visible damage and activity. Vince, on the other hand, is most dangerous when he can close the distance and make things physical. If he forces Kody to fight backing up, gets him against the cage and starts mixing in clinch work and takedown attempts, he can disrupt the flow of the fight. His best chance is turning it into a grind, when nothing feels clean, making Kody work defensively more than offensively and stealing rounds of pressure and control. I lean towards Kody managing the distance more consistently across 3 rounds, doing enough clean work to edge things. Give me Kody Thicknesse by decision. Next up, we have Jacob Malkoun taking on Gerald Meerschaert. Jacob wants to keep things simple and physical. He wants to close distance, push Gerald around, and spend as much time as possible controlling him on the mat or against the cage. If he can stay disciplined and not linger in risky situations, he can slowly rack up control and take the fight out of Gerald's best zones. Gerald is dangerous anytime the fight hits or scrambles messy grappling exchanges. He doesn't need much space, just one moment where Malkoun is overcommitted or careless on the ground, and he can start attacking submissions from wide angles. His best chance is turning defensive positions into opportunities and forcing Malkoun to constantly worry about what happens if he slips up. I see Jacob doing a bit more, being more active, getting the judges' attention, especially down under in Australia. Give me Jacob Malkoun by decision. Up next in the light heavyweight division, we have Junior Tafa taking on Kevin Christensen. Tafa wins the fight if he gets to do what he really wants to, keep it standing and turn it into a shootout. He's explosive, throws real intent, and doesn't need many shots to change everything. If he finds his rhythm early, you'll see him start to walk Kevin down, cut the cage, and let his hands go in combinations. The longer it stays on the feet without disruption, the more it leans his way. His path is pretty simple: pressure, land heavy, and get Christian out of there before things get messy. Christian wins by making it ugly and uncomfortable. He doesn't want a clean striking battle. He needs to break the flow. That means clinching, forcing grappling exchanges, pushing Tafa against the cage, and dragging him into deep waters. If he can slow the pace, mix in control, and take away that explosiveness, striking threat, the fight starts to shift. It becomes less about power and more about who can grind harder and stay composed when it's not pretty. He'll want to get the fight to the mat as soon as possible, where Tafa has been rather vulnerable. I think Tafa gets that moment. He's the more dangerous striker, and unless Kevin can immediately disrupt him and get it to the ground, I see Tafa fighting his shots early. Give me Junior Tafa by knockout. Come along next, we have Cam Rowston taking on Robert Bryczek. Cam wants to make it ugly early and keep it that way. His clearest path is not letting the fight become a clean striking match at range. Instead, he needs to keep in Robert's face, make exchanges happen on the fence, and turn it into a constant working pace where either guy gets a settle. When Rowston is the one initiating contact repeatedly, he starts to drown opponents in activity rather than damage. Robert still has the cleaner finishing tools, but they depend heavily on him being able to read distance and pick moments. If Rowston is constantly breaking that rhythm, closing distance quickly and forcing clitches, and not giving him the time to set his feet, those clean counters become harder to line up consistently. I'm leaning towards Cam, not because he's necessarily more dangerous in single moments, but because he can streak enough pressure and activity to stop Robert from ever fully settling into his ideal rhythm. Give me Cam Rowston by decision.
Boring and all of the things you're told about the outside world.
In the heavyweight division, we have Tuivasa taking on Louie Sutherland. Ty wants to make this a brawl, even for a few seconds. He's at his best when things get loose, planting his feet, throwing heavy, and trusting his power. He doesn't need clean setup or perfect timing. If he clips you, it can be over instantly. If he's able to keep this in open space and let his hands go, especially early, that's where he's most dangerous. His path is simple: create chaos, land big, and end it before the fight settles. Louie wins the fight by doing the exact opposite. He needs structure. That means staying composed, avoiding wild exchanges, and forcing Ty into positions where he can just swing freely. Clinch work, pressure against the cage, and mixing in grappling will be key. If he can slow the tempo and make Ty work, take away those explosive moments, the fight starts to tilt. The longer it goes without Ty landing something big, the better it is for him. This matchup comes down to risk. Every second on the feet is dangerous against Tuivasa, and you can't avoid that danger forever. I think Ty finds him. Give me Ty Tuivasa by knockout. In the heavyweight division, we have Shamil Gaziev taking on Brando Peričić. Shamil's at his best when he turns the fight into a forward march. He doesn't really want space or patience. He wants contact, clinches, and heavy exchanges where he can physically overwhelm the rhythm of the fight. If he starts landing first and making Brando cover up, the whole fight starts tilting into his kind of ugly, exhausting pressure. Brando is dangerous in a very different way. He doesn't need a lot of chaos. He just needs one clean reading of Shamil coming in too straight or too committed. If he stays calm and lets Shamil arrive into range, those counter moments open up fast. In heavyweight fights, that kind of timing doesn't need many chances. Shamil's pressure doesn't land clean early. He's going to keep walking into an exact kind of shot that ends fights quickly. Give me Brando Peričić by knockout. In the featherweight division, we have Marwan Rahiki versus Ollie Schmid. Marvi wants to turn pressure into damage. He comes forward, forces exchanges, and doesn't give Ollie time to settle. That's where the finish starts to open up. The key isn't just volume, it's making every exchange matter. As he builds momentum, you can see him start to sit down on his shots a bit more, and once he hurts Ollie, he's the type to follow it up instead of letting him recover. Ollie wins the fight by keeping that exact scenario from happening. He needs to stay composed and manage the distance and avoid getting caught in those extended exchanges. If he can make it more measured fight where he's picking shots and disrupting Marwan's forward pressure, can take away that snowball effect. The longer he keeps it controlled and technical, the more it leans his way. I see Rahiki forcing the pace, finding his moment, and once he connects clean, he doesn't let it slip. Give me Give me Marwan Rahiki by knockout. Up next in the flyweight division, we have Tim Elliott taking on Steve Erceg. Elliott fights like he's trying to scramble the board constantly. Nothing stays still with him. Position shifts, grips change, scrambles open up out of nowhere. His success comes from dragging opponents into uncomfortable reactions where they stop thinking clearly. Steve is more measured. He's trying to keep everything readable, clean entries, clean exits, and no emotional exchanges. If he can stop the fight from turning into constant scrambling, he starts to look like the sharper, more efficient striker and grappler. Steve will keep even partial order in the chaos. He edges through enough rounds without getting pulled into Elliott's mess. Give me Steve Erceg by decision.
Walking in a straight line. Lately I'm a desperate.
In the co-main event of the evening, we have Beneil Dariush taking on Quinlan Salikud. Beneil usually turns fights into something almost mathematical. He doesn't rush outcomes, he builds them. If he can keep exchanges calm, force resets, and stop everything from becoming explosive, he slowly turns the fight into something he controls round by round without needing big moments. Quinlan's the opposite energy. He wants reactions, not structure. The more unpredictable it gets, the better he looks, especially if he can make Dariush defend before he can attack. That kind of pressure doesn't need volume, just disrupt at the right times. I see Quinlan breaking the rhythm early. Dariush never gets to settle into the kind of control that normally wins him fights. Give me Quinlan Salikud by knockout.
Get the fuck out of bed, bitch, go! Get up, and get the guy, go up.
Can't get started. Chemical heart.
In the highly anticipated main event of the evening, in the featherweight division, we have Jack Della Maddalena versus Carlos Prates. JDM wants to turn it into a disciplined boxing match where he controls the exchanges with timing and accuracy, and he's at his best when he's dictating the distance, slipping into range, and landing clean combinations without overextending. If he can keep the fight structured, force Carlos to work every time he wants to land, he starts to edge ahead as the more consistent and composed striker. Carlos wins the fight by making it uncomfortable and dangerous every time Jack steps in. His biggest weapon is his ability to punish entries and make opponents second-guess themselves. If he can keep range slightly unpredictable and catch Jack coming forward, he can take control quickly and make the fight dangerous enough that Jack can't settle in the rhythm. I think Carlos is live because of that power and timing, and he only needs a few clean reads to change the fight. Give me Carlos Prates by knockout.
He just smiled and gave me a Vegemite sandwich.